Hey everybody, this is Hercules Penix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the Hercules Penix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Freaks of the Heartland, number 1 through 6, a miniseries published by Dark Horse Comics in 2004, written by Steve Niles, the main horror writer of the past 30 years. This guy's cranked out so many mini-series, ongoing series, almost always horror, and he's a quite prolific guy. He's most famous for 30 Days of Night, the vampire story. But the real showstopper here is Greg Ruff. I've never seen this artist anywhere else. I'm sure he's done other stuff. I just don't buy that many comics in the past 20 years because I'm always broke. But I think I found these in a 50-cent bin, and I'm really glad I did because, God, his art's amazing. He's an amazing illustrator in this very classic style. And we shall see how good he is. First cover is a very N.C. Wyeth feel to me. And of course, Greg Ruff paints the whole thing, so he does all the art and colors. Really nice cover. I like this on the inside front covers. Every issue, they have this nice black and white drawing. You can see his like classic illustration chops. This looks like it could be in the classic age of illustration from like 20s to the 40s, you know, in like Life magazine or something, or all the slick magazines from that time. So right off the bat, you can just see this really beautiful painted colors and just great drawing. Starts off in Gristlewood Valley. It's a very secluded valley somewhere in the heartland. And it's narrated in the past tense. It's about this kid. We see him here, Trevor. I love this 2-page spread. The way he draws this grass, or I think it's wheat, with these, like, it almost looks like Japanese, like, using the paint strokes to do it. Very classic Japanese art feel to it. I also just love this 2-page spread, like just this negative space and him running off in the diagonal. It's just really well designed. So we see Trevor just kind of playing by himself. I don't think he has many friends. And so he makes his way back to his house. That's nice too. This is a nice thing about this artist. I imagine all artists should do this, but the way he colors, it's just, you can totally tell what time of day it is. A lot of artists don't do that. It's just kind of like, oh, this color looks cool. But he's, every few pages, the color palette changes depending on if it's early morning or noon or dusk. He's really good at that. So the narration, like I said, is him in the future, remembering his childhood. And when he gets home, we meet his father and mother. And his father's not a good father. He's a mean old drunk. And you can just tell this first panel, the way the mother's head is just down in her chest. She's like, she's been beaten, this woman, literally, and beaten down in her soul. Man, just great panel. I also like he has a lot of pages like this in sepia, so it looks old timey because it takes place in like the 30s or 40s or something. And the father says, "You're late, boy. You didn't do your chores." And we can see interaction with between the father and mother that, yeah, he's just a bastard. And one of the main chores every night, he says, go feed your brother. So he goes to get this key and goes out to the barn. And there's this kind of like slop bucket here. And he ladles out some of this rancid gruel and pours it in this pail. And when he goes inside the barn, turns on the lamp. And I just want to say before I progress with the story is just definitely has a very cinematic storytelling style. Like all these silent passages, you know, taking his time. This comic kind of moves slow plot-wise because almost like Japanese manga, Steve Niles gives Greg Ruff plenty of room to breathe with his art. There's just a lot of pages where just, you know, not much is happening, but, you know, he's taking his time. We have this whole page of him just carrying the bucket in, turning on the lamp. But it's really cinematic, and I like that kind of storytelling sometimes. So then he gets inside the barn, and we meet his brother, Will, who's this big mutant baby, basically. He's about, he's a toddler age, but he looks like this. So he's one of the freaks of the Heartland, apparently. He says, how you doing, buddy? He says, okay, cold and hungry. So he's kind of stunted mentally. Probably because he rarely gets to talk to people, since he only sees his brother in the morning and the night when he feeds him. So we can tell by their dialogue that they really love each other. And Will tells him that, or from Will's dialogue, it seems like he has telepathy. He sees visions. He sees things that are going to happen or are happening. And Trevor kind of admits he has that too. He sees things too. And then they start horsing around. You can tell that they just really love each other, these brothers. And then the father calls, says, get your ass back in here, boy. And he says, I better go, but I'll be back later. Tonight, me and you are going out. That's the end of chapter 1. Man, that's a great panel right there. Just everything. I'm going to do my best not to just talk about the art constantly, because almost every page in this is stunning. Number 2. Another nice cover. Another nice, beautiful black and white illo. And so later that night, Will is sneaking out. I'm sorry, Trevor's sneaking out to free Will. And he overhears his father talking to his mother. Or more like drunkenly ranting to the mother. He's basically saying, I'm telling you, we gotta do what's gotta be done. He's gotten too big. And the mother's just saying, just a baby. It's just a baby, Henry. So he grabs the key again and sneaks out to the barn. And now that, it's kind of like late night colors. Man, I love this character design of Will. He's kind of like a cute baby, but obviously not that cute. And he takes him out. And we see that in this 2-page spread, Will is like super fast. He's like fast as a leopard. We see him zipping around this field using these little inset panels to just show him running around. And they're horsing around again, having a good time. It's so sad that Will can never go outside. So basically, Trevor usually just tells him about things that happened, in town. He has to describe everything to him. Will doesn't even know what any of these things look like or what he's talking about. He's been locked up in that barn. And then all of a sudden, Will has an attack, almost like a seizure. And it's almost like he's got an overload of his telepathic visions. And I like the way he does this here. Using these weird little squiggly panels to show you little glimpses, quick glimpses of what visions he's seeing. They're just really quick, and it's hard to tell what's even going on in them. Kind of interesting. And then it's like the visions crowd him out on this page. We just see him. He's his back is arched. It looks like he's in pain. And the visions are taking over. But then he calms down. And all he says to Trevor, he says, killed her. Man, he's so good to a body language. Like, just look out how sorrowful he looks after this vision of someone getting killed. Another great page. I like how he does these late night clouds. Kind of like, I don't know if that's like watercolor or wash. Just all smudgy looking clouds. Looks really good. So it's getting late, so he takes him back to the barn, locks him back up. And when he's sneaking up back to bed, the father's waiting for him. He's really drunk. He's got a gun in his lap. And he's just kind of ranting again. He says, we should have killed them all when they was born. Should have drowned them just like kittens. That's what I told them. But they said no, called them God's creatures. No way them's God's doing. We just see the anger in the father's face. And he brings up, he's like, you remember when you was a little boy? And you'd help me with the chores I didn't even have to ask? And the boy says nothing. He says, I remember that. So this guy, he's such a piece of shit, but he's also like such a sad figure. This guy isn't happy. It sounds like he's had a pretty shit life, even though he's probably caused most of his problems by being such a turd. So after he passes out, Trevor grabs the gun and he hides it away in this drawer upstairs. And he's lying in bed crying, just thinking how shitty his life is. And we see Will out in the barn. That's a nice page. Chapter 3, number 3. More nice stuff. The next morning, Trevor wakes up and there's a neighbor talking to his paw outside. And he's telling him the news. Apparently, the Carver's daughter killed a pig last night. So they're all so worried. They're just like, well, she's killing pigs now. How soon until they start attacking people? Us. Those things are getting too big, I tell you. So, Trevor runs out to the barn. And the father goes back in the kitchen to get more booze. And he's like, I'm doing what I should have done years ago, Marion. Ain't nothing you can do to stop me. And she's like, Henry, for God's sakes, no. So she tries to defend Will, and he just knocks her over and goes out to the barn. Trevor's already out there. He's freeing Will. He knows his father is going to kill him. And Carver killed his daughter after she killed the pig. And apparently those visions that Will saw last issue, when he was having that seizure, that's what he was seeing. He was seeing Carver kill his daughter. So the father comes out before he can escape. He says, "Go on, boy, I want to talk with your brother." But he's got a shotgun in his hand, so it's pretty obvious he doesn't really want to talk with his brother, with Will. Another Steve Niles ad. I told you this guy was prolific. He asks Will, he says, "What the hell are you?" Not know. So sad. Look at the sorrow etched in his face. Just knowing that his own father wants to kill him. And he says, "It's over, freak." And he points the gun right at his head. And then we see outside the barn, the camera pulls back. Blam. And I like this touch. We see all the birds take flight from the trees. And then Will's covered in blood. But he wasn't the one who was shot. The father is shot in the shoulder. And it's Trevor. Trevor had that gun that he took from his dad the night before. And of course, the father's furious. He says, "You little shit." He starts strangling him. And Will's not going to have any of that. He gets up to full height. I gotta say, in this panel, he reminds me of that, if you ever read The Eternals by Jack Kirby, there's this, like, deviant. I can't remember his name, but he looks like a big baby. He even has, like, wears diapers, it looks like. He totally reminds me of that guy. He's kind of red. And so, because his big brother's getting threatened, Will, using his super speed, you don't even see it. He just rips off his father's hands. Look at that. Look at this lettering here. You can totally see the Kent Williams influence on his art, especially this. This is such a Kent Williams trick, you know, doing the lettering with just a slashy paintbrush. But even the art, of course, too. I also sometimes see Muff, Kent Williams, you know, associate. I see a lot of that in this art, too. But more Kent Williams. Oh my God, I forgot about this. And then he fucking breathes fire like a dragon and burns the father. I love this, the way he paints this fire, especially after all the subdued colors we've been seeing. This really strikes out when you turn the page. It's like, whoa, look at that. Those reds. And once again, the Kent Williams lettering and the father's being immolated. Man, I like this page, the storytelling, the panelology. So Trevor says, "Well, we gotta go. There's gonna be trouble coming." And this is the first time Will has ever been out during the day. He's been cooped up in that damn barn his whole life, except a few times when Trevor takes him out at night. So the sun's kind of blinded him, but he likes it. Man, even the way he just draws this house, he's so good. I gotta stop talking about just how great the art is, because almost every page makes me want to ooh and ah, you know. So before he leaves, he says, "Hey, Ma." The mom's in the doorway there. "I bet it's been a long time since you laid eyes on him." And then he tells Will, "That there is your ma. She born you." And this is so sad. The mother can't, she's kind of dumbstruck. And Trevor says, "Well, we got to go, Ma. We did something terrible. Couldn't be helped, but we got to go." And the mother just kind of like walks down the hallway. So they're getting gone, and Will looks back for a second, and the mother's back in the doorway, and she actually waves at him. Kind of a sad little sweet moment, and Will waves back. I didn't even notice this the first time I read it. I missed that panel, and I was like, oh, that definitely adds a lot. And then she watches them as they walk away. I like this panorama here. It's pretty nice. Will asks where we go. Trevor says, I don't know. I suppose we'll find out when we get there. I'm pretty sure I've seen this line before. He stole that line. I don't know where, a movie or comic, but that's I've seen that. Number 4. More nice art in the cover and inside front cover. More of that interestingly drawn grass using some really cool looking brush strokes. So Will's loving being outside. He's playing with little lizards, and he's never seen anything like this. It's like walking on an alien world. And then all of a sudden, Will says, something's here. His second sight is feeling something. And so he walks over a little. Oh man, look at that. Beautiful sunset. Wait, did I miss something? Oh no. So, I'm sorry, they continue on their journey. They're eating some grubs because they're so hungry. That's like the one panel I don't like. It's a little off that face to me. Or just not that graphically appealing as the rest of the comic. So Will tries the grubs. He does not like them. He spits them out. I guess he prefers his rancid slop. So Trevor's getting tired. Takes a little nap. And when he wakes up, Will's not there. Another Steve Niles comic, by the way. Another ad. And he goes chasing after him. God. Oh man, you guys would be so drunk if this was a drinking game. Where every time I talked about how the art's beautiful, you had to take a sip. I just can't help it. I love this panel right here. So Will walked off because that thing that he sensed, he's getting closer. He says, something's in here. And under this tree, he finds this tiny little baby graveyard. All these little tombstones. Man, that's a nice spread there. Beautiful trees. I feel like Bob Ross. Nice fluffy trees. And Will starts digging up these graves. The first one he opens, there's a little doll inside of it instead of a skeleton. And he says, they lie, they lie. And Trevor doesn't understand. Then the next grave that they unearth, it is a skeleton, a little baby skeleton with a bullet hole right in the skull. And once again, Kent Williams. That's an impressive panel right there. So after they've dug up all the graves, Trevor thinks 5 rag dolls, 2 skeletons. And now we see a flashback when Trevor was really young, right when Will was being born. And kind of silently, in silent pantomime, we see just what the father was talking about, how he wanted to kill Will, but the mother wouldn't let him. So the father said, fine, he's going to live out in the barn, all chained up. And Trevor remembers. So Trevor figures it out. He says, they must have not all been able to kill y'all when it came down to it. Pa said they should have, but he sure never did himself. So he kept you alive. So a bunch of the other parents, didn't want to kill their kids, even if they were freaks. So most of the townspeople just faked, or a bunch of them, a handful, faked their kids' deaths and just put little dolls in the gravestones. I'm sorry, in the coffins. I like this panel of Will here. Kind of looks like William Frawley, like Fred Mertz. And so Trevor realizes, like, there must be others, just like, hiding out, just like you were. And he says, please, Trevor, we find. And Trevor agrees and says, yep, let's go find him. And we can all get out of this place. More beautiful grass. I like he uses so many different styles in this comic. Like, just, it looks like many different great art techniques, Watercolor, great pen work. It's kind of a spoiler of a cover. Sorry about that. Of course, my whole show is spoilers, so. Oh man, look at this. It's so fucking gorgeous. Such good painting. So they're on the search to find all the other freaks of the Heartland. A fire breaks out in someone's field. And this guy, Jimmy, runs into the sheriff's office, screaming his fool head off. The sheriff's like, simmer down. We'll take care of it. Round up all the families and get the water wagon. And Jimmy says, maybe we should call outside to the county. And the sheriff says, no outsiders. So basically everyone in this town, all the adults have this shame about, these devil babies. So Jimmy runs off to round up all the families. So all the guys are trying to fight the fire. And the preacher has heard about Carver killing his own daughter. And he's pretty saddened by it. We realize the sheriff is just like, totally wants these things to be killed. He does not like these freaks. And then he realizes, or maybe Jimmy does, he says, wait a second, the Owens aren't here. That's Will and Trevor's parents. So they drive off to see what's going on. And then we see Trevor and Will, they set the fire as a distraction. So they could free Will's brethren. So first they go to the Clegg house, and Will breaks the chain off of this basement door. And sure enough, there's another freak in there. I love his face here. He looks like a big happy baby. Also, it kind of looks like those baby masks in the movie Brazil that the torture guys wore. It's really funny looking. So this freak comes out, and Trevor says, I think he wants to come with us. And then all of a sudden, little Maggie Clegg shows up. And she's like, Trevor Owen, what the hell are you doing on our property? And he fills her in. He tells her about how Lee Carver killed his girl. And Pa was trying to kill Will. And all of these freaks aren't safe anymore. And then she runs off. And Trevor's like, damn, she's going to go tell on us. But no, she ran off to get the car keys to her father's truck. And she's going to help him. And they all ride off together. So they go to all the farms. And free more of these critters. Look at this guy. He's pretty mutated. I love how every time you see the truck driving, the wheels are off the ground. It's very cartoony, even though the art's so, like, not. They find another one. She looks like the Joker's daughter. And so, I think they found them all. And they're up on this hill, kind of resting. So now these guys go off to the Owens. Sorry about that. Now they go off to the Owens. I think it's the sheriff and some other guy. Maybe it's Jimmy. And Jimmy walks in first. Look at this very cinematic panelology. And Jimmy comes running out, puking. And when the sheriff walks in, he sees the mother hung herself. And she pinned a note to her dress that says, let the children be. Man, that's a page. That is a striking page. And the sheriff runs out to the barn, finds the charred remains of Henry, Trevor's dad, Trevor and Will's dad. And then Clegg runs up and says, my daughter's missing and my little thing. That's what he calls his mutant son. And so the sheriff says, we're going to find every one of those damn creatures and we're going to put them down once and for all. He is not liking this situation. Last chapter. Oh man, that's a nice cover. That's some nice painting. It continues into the first panel here. So all the kids are, they're trying to make it out of the valley. There's this kind of weird little thing in this comic where they mention how nobody's ever gone out of this valley. It's kind of a MacGuffin. I don't think it really matters, but it just seems like nobody, at least from the kids, they've never left this little valley. So they're all kind of getting acquainted while they're on the run. And while they're resting, Trevor tells Will a little backstory. He was a little kid, but he kind of, remembers the stories. I guess there were weird clouds in the sky, just like there is today. I guess there's some weird clouds. These clouds are kind of weird. But when Will was born, there was weird clouds in the sky. All of the women in town got pregnant at the same time and delivered all the same week. And they were all kind of freaks. Some parents said it was the bombs, the water. Some thought the devil himself done it. The only thing they all agreed on was that they hated them. They didn't want these freakish kids. That's why they faked y'all's deaths, I guess. Just plain stupid shame. That's what Trevor tells Will. So now we're back with the adults, the posse. I like that panel there. Some good stuff. So the kids finally make it to the crest of the mountain and they see the big city down below. And most of the kids are like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's beautiful. But when Will looks down at it, he just says, same there, Trevor, same there. Basically, he knows that the people in the city will treat him just as shitty. He says, they'll like you down there, Trevor. They won't like us, the freaks, you know. So Will and Trevor and Maggie say, well, I guess we'll find someplace else. We'll just keep looking for a place we can settle. And the posse's getting pretty close. And Will says, Trevor, take care of Will all my life. Now Will take care of Trevor. And he crushes a rock with his bare hand. So the posse's real close. And Will comes out of nowhere. And he just starts using his super speed. He just starts attacking these guys. Man, this stuff's so good. Take a drink. This guy is just like super speed, just rips his guts out. And so one of the townspeople is just like, let's just let him go, Sheriff. It ain't worth it. She says, no, they ruined our lives. And it turns out the kids are right behind him. And Trevor says, you're the ones who ruined everybody's lives. We ain't asked for this. None of us did. But we may do. What's wrong with all y'all that you can't stop hating and blaming everybody but yourself for things going wrong? And the sheriff says, I'll shoot y'all, God damn it. He's aiming the gun at everyone, even the normies. And then all of a sudden, a shotgun blast. And the sheriff looks like he's ripped in two. And it's Clegg. He shot him from behind. He says, don't point no guns at my kid, Sheriff. And he says, Maggie, why don't you come home now? Come along. And she says, I ain't going back. I like to look on this father. He's just, the shame on his face. And then we see all the critters, well, all the kids walking off. Another really nice design here, the silhouette. Oh man, that's good stuff. I like this too, that this totally black page. And the narrator comes back. There isn't a day that has gone by that I haven't thought about Will and those days on the farm. So now we see Trevor as an old man, and it looks like he married Maggie, and they've had a nice life together. And he's sitting out on the porch, and he's thinking, but no matter how many times I think about the old days, it always comes back to me and my brother Will. We never questioned why things happened the way they did. We always just lived for the precious moments together. And he looks out to the yard, and there's good old Will. I guess he's lived with them their whole lives. They've all been together. And he goes up to him and says, "Hey, buddy." The end. Oh, man, that's sweet. That is a nice little story. But the main reason to own these comics is for Greg Russ art, I think. Let's get these back where they belong. So there you go, guys. Freaks of the Heartland, number 1 through 6. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if you couldn't find these. I would be surprised if you couldn't find these in a 50-cent bin or a $1 bin. I don't think it really made a mark, which is a damn shame, because it's actually a pretty good story. But man, this art is outstanding. So hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope to see you next time here at the Hercules Penix Academy of Comic Book Studies.